most important tip I can give you is never ever assume that people understand what you're saying. You might be talking to someone and you might think they know exactly what you're saying, but how do you know they're not either possibly bored with what you're saying, or they've got a pressing problem they're thinking about that. They might have a sick child at home and they're thinking about that, not listening to you. So what I like to do when I'm talking to somebody is to check that they've understood what I'm saying. The last thing I say, of course, is, do you understand? Because that'll get you a punch in the face. What I'll do is I'll take responsibility for the communication. So what I'll say is, I'm not really sure I've made myself clear. Did I get that through? Did I communicate that okay? Or, is that okay? Is that clear? Blaming myself, and they'll say yes. I say, oh, what did you think I said? For example, they might feed it back, and if it's wrong, I say, oh no, sorry, I made a mistake. What I meant to say was this. Never leave it to chance if it's important communication. Now, it's difficult enough when you're doing it face to face. When it's email and text, it's even more difficult, particularly the way different people communicate. Now, I had a business partner a few years ago, and he's a Yorkshireman, and he didn't like to communicate a great deal, and his way of communicating in text and email was just a line, maybe a couple of words. And one day he went back to the UK, I was working on a big proposal, and he went off yet again. Well, I sound bitter. While I was working on yet another proposal, and he went off. I'd worked long and hard, got the proposal ready, sent it to him in the UK to see what he thought. And when I got up the next day, there was an email, and it just had a few words, and it just said, "It's a bit cold." I was outraged because I just thought, because if anything, my writing tends to be a little bit friendly. Some will say gushing. So I was really offended that this guy who was gallivanting in the UK was not even giving feedback. He was just passing a glib comment. So I made another big mistake. I sent an email while I was still angry, saying I wasn't best impressed with his attitude and it would be good if he was here. Why should I do all the work? And if he's got any feedback, can you make it a little bit more constructive rather than saying it's just a bit cold? Sent it off. The email I got back was, no, what I meant was, it's -2 in the UK, it's freezing. He wasn't even talking about, now we laughed about it afterwards, but the point being, I assumed what he meant and it was completely wrong and it could have destroyed the relationship. So always check what the communication is. If you're sending a text, make sure it's obvious what you're saying. Don't leave anything to chance. If you're sending an email, read it back, ask someone else to read it if it's important, to check that you're communicating what you're setting out to do. And face to face, really listen. Thank you.